This is Popular Front, a podcast focused on the niche details of modern warfare and underreported conflict with me, Jake Hanrahan. Today we're speaking to journalist and analyst Neil Hauer. He's going to be speaking to us about the current flare-up on the border between Armenia and Azerbaijan. Now this is different. It's not Karabakh, it's not Artsakh. It's a different situation where Azerbaijan troops have gathered and even moved into the borders of Armenia proper. It's quite a fragile situation. 2 episodes this week. This is an update basically on the situation in Armenia. If you like what we're doing here at Popular Front, please do consider supporting us at patreon.com/popularfront. I want to talk as well about the recent developments in Armenia. There's been some very tense situations. I know a soldier was killed yesterday. What's happening there? I know you've been out to the border area where this has been happening. What's going on?
Yeah, so it's very tense for the last 2 weeks here. I think it was 2 weeks ago today, so May 12th, that there were these initial reports that Azerbaijan had crossed the border in an area in the south, in Sunak province, and they had essentially set up shop there on Armenian territory with a couple hundred guys. And a lot of the details still aren't clear, like how this happened or where exactly they were. But now we have a pretty good idea that, there's this ongoing border demarcation process that we don't really know how it's being conducted, but to some degree, in some way it is. And but at any rate, these soldiers crossed in over there and set up on land which is indisputably, according to any map, any Soviet map that's out there that might be used for border demarcation, is Armenian territory. And so this happened there, and then in another area in the northeast in Nagorno-karabakh province near Lake Sevan. And so that there's another area there where Azeri troops have set up. And so this has been going on for 2 weeks now. And Armenia has reached out to all the diplomatic channels. They've appealed officially to the CSTO, their alliance with Russia and a few other countries. They've appealed to the UN, the OSCE. They've taken a bunch of Western ambassadors down there and whatnot. And so it's gotten a lot of attention. But at the end of the day, the Azeri troops are still there. And I think in Sunak it's a little more calm, but in the northeast area down there, we tried to get down there last week, and we pulled all the strings we had. I was with a veteran friend of mine, so he was talking to the commander of the nearby base himself, and the commander was saying, yeah, everyone at the base is down there. All the tanks and all the artillery are in combat positions, and it's really tense. We're prepared for something to happen. We're hoping it doesn't, but the situation is really tense, and a lot of people here are freaked out about it.
Well, let's talk about Sunak first. That's where they went, right? There's a big lake there, but you're saying like this isn't part of Karabakh, right? This is something different. Maybe just explain that a little bit if you can.
Right. Yeah. So this has nothing to do with Karabakh itself. This is the boundaries between Republic of Azerbaijan and Armenia proper. And in both of these areas, the border is between Armenia and then a part of Azerbaijan that was just handed back to them following this last war. It's part of the peace settlement. So this is an area where there never was a proper border demarcation because, in Soviet times it didn't matter. And then when the Soviet Union collapsed, there was the war was already ongoing. And Armenia captured these areas in '93, and Azerbaijan just got them back 6 months ago. And so now we're dealing with the international boundary, not with Karabakh, which is internal inside Azerbaijan, but now we're dealing with the international boundary between the Republic of Azerbaijan and the Republic of Armenia, which is a whole other level of severity entirely.
So it's kind of like, I don't want to say an invasion, but it's like they've stumbled across the land into Armenia. What's the reaction from the state, from the government, from Pashinyan?
Yeah, for the government, it's been mangled the whole way through. Like the day of, they're saying no, nothing happened, and then, at the end of the day, that Pashinyan goes on, and he says that he admits that the Azeris penetrated 3.5 kilometers in, which is a stunning amount, given that the government. It's been 6 months since the end of the war. It was very obvious that this would be the sort of thing that would be a problem, And since then, the government has done a really bad job of quelling rumors about what's happening. In the last week, there's all sorts of rumors that there's some new agreement being signed, and then Pashinyan confirms there is some new agreement, but we don't know the contours of it. There's rumors that it involves him handing away certain territories of Armenia, but we have no info on that. And then there's sort of this ongoing fight within the government itself, where Pashinyan says, "I've been working on this document with the Azeris, and I'm going to sign it." And it's with the Russians, and it's basically like a border commission. But then the MFA of Armenia comes out and says, we're not doing border demarcation except in the contours of the resolution of the Karabakh problem, of the entire Karabakh crisis, and like status of Karabakh, etc. And then the president of Armenia is saying, "I've never seen this agreement." The MFA is saying, "I've never seen this agreement." So it's a whole clusterfuck, really. And the communication from the government has just been so haphazard and contradictory that it's just this sort of open environment where rumors are just flourishing.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of that online. There was also this weird video I saw the other day where there's I think Armenian volunteers are asking for their weapons back on the border. Did you see that?
Yeah, I've seen a few of these that have gone around. And the first one that I saw was apparently showing Azeri troops chasing off Armenians after getting in a fist fight. And that was circulating around. And then, then some government officials here said that was just a 3-minute clip from a 2-hour video. And then we saw another part of that, which was the opposite. It was Armenians in a fist fight with Azeris. And then I just saw today in another video, it's Armenian soldiers have driven off the Azeris from the tent that they set out, and they're thrashing the tent that the Azeris have set up. And we know that last week there was a huge fist fight between a couple hundred guys total, Armenians and Azeris, that ended up putting about a dozen guys from each side in hospital. So it's this really bizarre situation where it's like everyone's trying not to escalate it to the point of armed gunfire, but there's these sorts of border fist fights, like the India-China thing of last year, where they all got into big fist fights on the border, and this is what's been happening for the last week and a half here.
For that to happen though, just after the Karabakh War, is absolutely fucking crazy. I'm so surprised that just carried on as like a big fist fight, a big brawl. But yesterday, I think there was a soldier killed, right? What's happened there?
Yeah, yesterday we know that this is the first time since the end of the war that a soldier was killed on the Republic of Armenia territory. And so this is something that actually used to happen, fairly often.
Yeah.
In the 2.5 decades before the war, where you'd have there would just always be shootouts across the border and between the two sides. And otherwise, this one, we don't know so many details of it, but this was in the area in the northeast where the Azeris are occupying. And, so I guess in the sense it's miraculous, it didn't devolve into much more. But yeah, that was the first, let's say that's the first live fire armed casualty in this ongoing 2-week drama here.
Right, and how does it happen that one soldier gets shot like that? I know there was a video as well yesterday where there was one Azeri soldier that the Armenians were sending back over the border, he was on his own. How is this happening? I don't understand. Is it the landscape or what?
I mean, it's really hard for us to say out here because media are not allowed to get close to that border there.
Right.
We basically are relying on the same sort of social media videos that are coming out from everyone else. But I mean, it doesn't seem like it seems like there's very little control either on the Armenian side for sure, and probably on the Azeri side as well. It seems like the whole thing is very ad hoc, and people are responding just locally in different situations. And it is a bit surprising when you think about it, that it hasn't devolved into something much more fatal, much more violent. But I mean, I can imagine, it's guys moving forward, trying to take up a new position in the middle of the night or something, and then it's one small Azeri detachment. They move a small group. They move forward their tent, and in the morning, the Armenians discover them and kick them out. And I don't see any evidence of. I think the Russians are there in Sunik now. I'm not totally sure because that's where we had the big brawl last week. But yeah, there's no evidence in these videos either that the Russians, who Russia, who is a bilateral treaty ally, Armenia's security guarantor, and the Russians don't seem to be there, at least in having peacekeeping forces, in any of these videos on either of those two pockets on the border that we've seen, which is also pretty wild, considering we're 2 weeks into this. Armenia has officially invoked the Mutual Defense Pact, and yet the Russian-led alliance, Russia itself, not only has not accomplished anything on the ground, but they have not even made an unequivocal statement in support of Armenia. They've just said, we hope that this issue can be resolved in peaceful means.
Yeah, Jesus. So basically, like, their only kind of, friendly, I guess, supporter is like kind of ignoring the situation. Why do you think this is happening? Do you think this is like provocation from Azerbaijan? I saw some people saying, oh, whilst the Israel-Palestine conflict was raging, Azerbaijan kind of wanted to slip in quietly. Or do you think this is just like soldiers on the border just doing weird shit?
Yeah, I really don't like all these theories there's all these wild theories running around out there that it's just Azerbaijan preparing to conquer Sunik and, just lop off the entire southern province of the Republic of Armenia for itself. I think it's basically, the Azeris, just making this really low cost investment. All it takes for them, you send a few hundred guys across the border, set up shop there, and look at all the chaos they've created out of that. And they're putting themselves in positions, where maybe they'll get some extra concessions out of the border demarcation, however that goes. Some people speculate that they're using this as pressure to get additional handovers of small bits of territory in Karabakh itself, and that to me is a bit more plausible, because we've heard the same theory about the nearly 200 POWs that Azerbaijan's still holding.
Yeah,
and so I think specific things related to Karabakh, because that is much more up in the air. I think that's a lot more plausible. Why one outcome for them to do this. But yeah, I think in the main thing, it's a very low cost way for them to cause a lot of chaos in Armenia and knock Armenia off balance. And the Azeris have barely even commented on this all along. They've just said the Armenian side is just being hysterical about the border demarcation process. There's no need for it. So Aliyev himself has said again and again, like, oh, Yerevan, Sunik, Zangezur, they're all ancient Azerbaijani land, but he hasn't made any comments like that during this. It's not like he's been going out and saying, this is just us retaking our ancient land or something. Like, the Azeris just aren't saying anything. And it's just these guys sitting there on the border having these provocations back and forth. And I think, it's just a way for him to humiliate Pashinyan even further, which is clearly one of the things he loves doing. And just humiliate Pashinyan and just cause chaos in Armenia. And we see that, and also make Armenia look even more weak and isolated than it already is. And as we see, all those things are occurring.
Yeah, it's terrible for morale as well, right, of the people. What is going on with the government now? I think last I read, he said he's going to have early elections, right? What's going on?
Yeah, so that's been set for about a month now, maybe a little more than that. They're set for June 20th. So in about three or 4 weeks here. And those are coming up. And we've got the main alliances, the main election block set. I mean, there's Pashinyan's block, the government block. And then the main opposition block is led by the second president, Robert Kocharyan, in an alliance with the ARF, the Dashnaq party. And then there's a million political parties as well. The only other real players are, the ones that are in parliament right now, Bright Armenia and then Prosperous Armenia. And it basically looks right now that, it is going to be probably a Pashinyan victory for his party. He'll probably get about twice the seats of Kocharyan's party. But Kocharyan is already setting up for contesting the results. He already said, there's going to be election fraud in this election. And he's certainly going to contest the results of it either way. There's people now that also think that the June 20th election won't happen given what's going on the border and, the sort of state of the country here. But, fingers crossed they do go ahead, because that's the first step towards getting out of the endless political crisis this country's been in for the last 6 months. And we'll see what happens getting close to that date.
That's interesting, though, that Pashinyan might still win. Is that just because there's no real alternative, or are people not as angry with him now as they were during the war? Maybe my perception's off. You know, obviously I've not been there since January.
Yeah, no, people are definitely much more angry with him now than they were during the war. I mean,
Right.
these last 2 weeks have been awful for him, and then in general, there's just been so much, just so many scandals that he's manufactured out of nothing, just with the way that he speaks, and just the provocative things that he just casually says. But I mean, that the reality of it is really the first thing he said, that there's just no real alternative. I mean, the main opposition bloc is led by Robert Kacharyan, who is one of the most disliked people in Armenia, president from 98 to 2008, and is best remembered for presiding over the rigged 2008 elections, where his protege Serge Sargsyan came into power, and the police cracked down hard and killed 8 people on the post-election protests there. And so everyone knows who Robert Kacharyan is, but most people associate him with criminality and corruption, and just basically failing to lead the country anywhere positive during his time. So for Nicole to be leading is in a lot of ways it's just really remarkable, but also for Kacharyan to be, and for people even be considering his return, is also in its own way pretty incredible.
Yeah, what a mess. Lastly, Neil, just want to ask, what's the status of the POWs in Azerbaijan still? Last I read, you know, there was negotiations, but I haven't seen many come back for a while.
Yeah, no, there was 3 returned about 2 weeks ago, and those are the only ones that have come back in the last 2 or 3 months here. There was the report that came out by the lawyers that are representing the Armenian POWs, ECHR. They released, the international organization. They released a statement appeal a few weeks ago, saying that they have confirmed that 19 of these POWs have been killed in Azeri custody since the end of the war. And that's including, we knew of about 3 or 4 of those cases already, and then the rest are new. And there's no one knows what's happening with the POWs. By law, they should have been returned, according to both the Geneva Conventions and the November 10th agreement. Armenia returned all its POWs by mid-January, and Azerbaijan is just holding them. And they've started putting some of them on trial. There's one Lebanese Armenian man who he went to the initial hearing yesterday in the Baku military court, and he's charged with terrorism, and he's looking at basically a life sentence in Azerbaijan. And there's well over 100 Armenians still held by Azerbaijan, and essentially no one knows what's going on.
So the ones that have been killed in custody, I mean, they've been executed, right? They've been arrested already, and then now they're dead. I mean, I can't see that as anything but an execution. Yeah.
Yeah, they've even recovered the bodies of some of them. You know, recovered during the searches in Karabakh for the remains of soldiers that have been carried out a few times repeatedly since the end of the war. And they found the remains of some of these guys, and forensic examination showed that they were killed just a few days beforehand. And all of these would have been torture and then murder, just summary executions of these guys, either intentionally or unintentionally in custody.
Grim, man, grim. Okay, thanks for the update, Neil. Let everybody know where they can find you and follow your reporting on the area.
Absolutely. So I'm on Twitter at Neil Hauer. My handle is Neil P. Hauer, Hauer. And then on there too, you can find my Patreon, where I provide a weekly newsletter and advanced drafts and other opportunities to pick my brain for subscribers.
Right, man. And you're on a Patreon as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's just Neil Hauer on Patreon. NeilHauer.
Brilliant. Thank you, mate. Appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you so much for having me on again, Jake.
That was Neil Hauer speaking about the very fragile situation on the border now between Azerbaijan and Armenia. If you like what we're doing here at Popular Front, please do consider subscribing to our Patreon for loads of bonus stuff. That is patreon.com/popularfront. For the price of like £1 a month, you get bonus episodes. You get to support Popular Front. The more we make there, the more we produce. Ask anybody on the Patreon, they'll tell you that much is true. There's a lot of hard work going on here. This episode was sponsored by Oracle Coffee Shop in Portland, Oregon, USA. They're an independent coffee business selling only fair trade products. See them at 3875 Southwest Bond Avenue, 97239. The episode was also sponsored by Grindcore House, a pair of independent coffee shops in Philadelphia, USA, one in South, one in West. Find them on social media at Grindcore House. The episode is also sponsored by Propagandopolis, an outlet selling and writing about historical conflict propaganda from around the world, various different wars. It's very interesting, very cool prints. Buy prints at propagandopolis.com. Use the promo code POPULARFRONT10 for 10% off. Follow us on social media, Instagram at popular.front, YouTube, youtube.com/popularfront. I guess that's not really social media, is it? But yeah, watch our docs there. Twitter at popularfrontco. My Twitter at Jake_Hanrahan, HANRAHAN. Go and tell me how much you hate and despise me there. That seems to be quite constant, very boring behavior, but there you go. Go to our website, popularfront.co, not .com. A lot of people saying it's not there. No, .co. I've said it 100 times. www.popularfront.co. It's basically a landing page. You'll find what we're all about. You'll see all of our links, everything. Again, please do consider supporting us. Patreon.com/popularfront or popularfront.co/support. There's different ways of doing it there. The music in this episode, the intro was by an artist called Home, and the outro is by Sam Black. You can listen to Sam Black's music at samblackpf.com. Thank you to the high tier Patreons. They are the following: Thumper, Lisa Milgram, Lupita Valez, Bradley Davies, Laura RX, happy birthday, A. Nicole, Manny, Travis Lieberman, Cherry, Ben Marshall, Dallas Dunn, LD50 Seattle, MJ, K Glitter Vulcan, Meredith Waters, Bethany Swoveland, C. O'Donnell, Adam H, Larson 8669, Karante, Bjorn Kirsten, Diamond Steen, Jacob, Michael O'Connor, Zach Packard, Todd Cravens, Alexander, Nicholas Butter, Ron Swanson, JD, Jav, Ian Froese, James Cully, Michael Akakan, Ethan, Fitz Madrid, Ed Coulthard, Johnny LaFleur, Clayton Taylor, Max Barone, Ben, Liam Williams, Chris Cusimano, Degenerate Zero Alpha, Jojo Arani, DR, Trey Nance, Amy R, Rubicon, Frank Austin, Amelia Me, Nawaiz, Christina Ravetti, Freya Northman, Ali Hunter, Moody Al Rashid, Bill Wilson, Andrew Hurley, Vida Provost, Brian McLaughlin, Tom Lochrin, Young Wasabi, Tony Bin, Adam Bergsnyder, JL, Sebastian, Stephen Davila, Anthony Kabarak, Dan Dunham, Fletcher Tate, Chad Walker, Diana Gorvanek, Lawrence Abrahams, Peter McCormack from What Bitcoin Did, Emily Molly, Axel Iverson, Christopher Martin, Ryan Sandercock, and Moritz Zumbul. Thank you all so much. Without you, as I always say, honest to God, this would fall to bits. Thank you so much. Really do appreciate all the support. If there's anything you want to see from Popular Front and you're in that high tier Patreon category, please do DM me on the Patreon. Much appreciated. Anyway, if you want to support us, patreon.com/popularfront.